Hey, strange, before we dive into the creepy, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss me losing my mind in part 2. It's like signing up for a haunted house tour, but free and spookier. I'm not one for drama, really. I'm just a guy who likes his coffee black, his Wi-Fi strong, and his life uneventful. So when I moved into my new place, a cozy little one-bedroom in a sleepy suburb, I thought I'd hit the jackpot. Affordable rent, a backyard big enough for a barbecue, and neighbors who seemed normal enough. Well, except for one. The guy across the street. Let's call him Mr. Stare. The first time I noticed him was the day I moved in. I was hauling boxes, sweating like I'd run a marathon. When I glanced up and saw him, he was just sitting there in his living room, dead center in his picture window. No TV, no book, no phone, just sitting, staring out. His house was one of those cookie-cutter deals, same as mine, but with curtains that looked like they hadn't been washed since the Nixon administration. He was older, maybe 60s, with a face like a retired accountant who'd seen one too many audits. I gave a friendly wave, the neighborly thing. He didn't wave back, didn't even blink, just stared. I shrugged it off. Some people are weird. Maybe he was hard of seeing or just really into his own thoughts. I had boxes to unpack and a pizza to order, so I let it go. But that night, as I sat on my couch scrolling through streaming options, I felt it. That prickle on the back of your neck, like someone's watching you. I glanced out my window, and there he was. Same spot, same stare, his silhouette framed by the dim glow of his living room. It was 11 p.m. Did this guy ever sleep? By day 3, it was a pattern. Morning, noon, night. Mr. Stare was always there. I'd catch him when I left for work, when I mowed the lawn, when I took out the trash. Always in that window, eyes locked on nothing and everything. I started wondering if he was okay. Maybe he was lonely or sick or stuck in some kind of elderly Groundhog Day. I decided to be the bigger person. I'd introduce myself, maybe bring over a coffee or a beer. Break the ice, So, on Saturday morning, I grabbed a couple of cold ones from the fridge. Nothing says, "Welcome to the neighborhood," like cheap lager, and marched across the street. His lawn was overgrown, weeds choking the flower beds, and the mailbox was stuffed with flyers that looked weeks old. I knocked on his door, feeling like a Boy Scout selling cookies. No answer. I knocked again, louder. Nothing. I peered through the window, expecting to see him in his usual spot, but the chair was empty. The living room looked wrong. Dusty, like nobody had lived there in years. No furniture except that one chair. No pictures on the walls. Just cobwebs and a faint musty smell seeping through the window frame. I went back home, a little creeped out but mostly confused. Maybe he'd stepped out. Maybe he was napping. But that night, when I checked my window, there he was again. Same chair, same stare. I waved, more out of habit than hope. No response. Just those eyes, locked on my house like he was waiting for something. By the end of the first week, I was starting to lose it. Not in a call the cops way, but in a why is this guy so weird way. I mentioned it to my coworker, Jen, who's into true crime podcasts and thinks she's a detective. She laughed and said, "Maybe he's a ghost, like stuck in a loop." I laughed too, but it didn't feel funny. That night, I closed my curtains, but I could still feel him, like his gaze was burning through the fabric, right into my living room. I decided to do some recon. I'm not proud of it, but I Googled his address. Nothing came up, no property records, no sales history, just a blank. Weird, right? So I asked my landlord, a chatty guy named Carl who knows everyone's business. I casually brought up the neighbor, expecting a quick rundown. Carl frowned. Nobody's lived in that house for years, he said. Bank owns it. Been empty since the last guy passed away. Heart attack, I think. Why? I felt my stomach drop. There's a guy in there, I said. Older. Sits in the window all day. Carl looked at me like I'd grown a second head. Kid, you sure you're not seeing things? That place is locked up tight. I drive by it every day. I didn't push it. Carl's not the type to lie, but he's also not the type to believe in weird stuff. I went home, checked the window. Mr. Stair was there, same as always. That night I couldn't sleep. Every creak in the house felt like footsteps. Every shadow felt like him. I kept my phone on, scrolling Reddit to distract myself, but I couldn't shake the feeling that he was watching me, even through the walls. Around 2 a.m., I heard something, a faint tap, like a knuckle on glass. I froze. Came again from my living room window. I didn't want to look, but I had to. I crept to the curtain, heart pounding, and peeked out. He was there, not in his house, in mine. His face was pressed against my window, inches from the glass, staring right at me. His eyes were wrong. Too wide, too dark, like holes that went on forever. I stumbled back, tripped over the coffee table, and hit the floor. When I looked again, he was gone. But my curtains were open, swaying slightly, like someone had just brushed past them. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the couch, lights on, clutching a kitchen knife like it would do anything. The next morning, I checked the window. No smudges, no footprints, no sign of anyone. But when I looked across the street, he was back in his chair, staring. And for the first time, he smiled. A slow, thin smile, like he knew something I didn't. I didn't leave the house that day. Not after seeing that smile. It wasn't a friendly grin, the kind you flash at a neighbor borrowing sugar. No, this was something predatory, like a cat watching a mouse realize it's trapped. I called in sick to work, blaming a stomach bug, but really, my gut was twisting from fear, not flu. I paced my living room, phone in hand, debating whether to call the cops. What would I say? Hey, there's a ghost staring at me? They'd laugh me off the line or send a wellness check. For me. Instead, I barricaded myself in. Curtains drawn, doors locked, even the deadbolt on the back door that I never used. I tried to distract myself with TV, but every shadow on the screen made me jump. By noon, hunger forced me to the kitchen. As I rummaged for bread, I heard it. A soft scrape, like nails on wood. From outside? No, inside. Coming from the basement door. My place had an unfinished basement, the kind with exposed beams and a washer-dryer hookup I hadn't bothered with yet. I'd only been down there once, to store some boxes. The door was ajar now, just a crack. I swear I'd closed it. Heart hammering, I grabbed a flashlight from the drawer. My phone's battery was dying from endless scrolling, and eased the door open. The stairs creaked under my weight, each step echoing like a warning. The air down there was colder than it should be, musty with that old house smell of damp concrete and forgotten things. I flicked on the light switch at the bottom. Nothing. Bulb must be out. Great. Shining the flashlight around, I saw my boxes stacked neatly, just as I'd left them. But then the beam caught something on the far wall, a scratch mark. Fresh, like claws had raked the concrete. And below it, etched faintly, was a word, watch. I bolted back upstairs, slamming the door and wedging a chair under the knob. What the hell was that? Vandalism? Or him? I didn't want to think about it. I ordered delivery, pizza again, comfort food, and waited by the front door, peeking through the peephole like a paranoid shut-in. When the driver knocked, I nearly jumped out of my skin. I paid quickly, barely mumbling thanks, and retreated inside. As I ate, I decided to dig deeper online. Reddit was my go-to for weird stuff, so I posted on r/nosleep and r/paranormal, anonymized of course. Neighbor staring from empty house, now inside mine? The responses flooded in. Some called it sleep paralysis or carbon monoxide poisoning. Check your detectors, they said. Others shared similar stories. Sounds like a watcher entity. One user wrote, "They feed on attention. Ignore it or it escalates." Another linked to urban legends about window people, spirits trapped in reflections, mimicking the living until they swap places. I laughed it off at first, but the more I read, the colder I felt. By evening, the sun dipped low, casting long shadows through the cracks in my curtains. I couldn't resist checking. I parted them just enough to see across the street. Mr. Stare was there, but now he wasn't alone. In the dim light of his living room, or whatever that empty shell was, there were shapes, faint outlines like people standing behind his chair. 2, maybe 3, all facing my house. Their forms were blurry, like bad reception on an old TV, but I could make out heads tilted, as if listening. I dropped the curtain, breath ragged. This wasn't real. Couldn't be. I tried calling Jen again, my true crime-obsessed coworker. She picked up on the second ring. "Dude, you sound like crap. What's up?" I spilled everything, the empty house, the window visit, the basement scratch. She went quiet, then said, "Okay, don't freak, but I'm coming over. We'll check it out together." Relief washed over me. Jen was tough. She'd once pepper sprayed a creepy guy at a bar. She'd be here in 20 minutes. While I waited, I paced, avoiding windows. But then my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Why do you watch?" I stared at it, thumbs frozen. Another, "I see you." Then a photo attachment. I shouldn't have opened it, but I did. It was me in my living room, taken from outside my window. From moments ago, I was pacing, back turned, but in the background, reflected in the TV screen, a face. His face. Inside the house, behind me, I whipped around. Nothing. The room was empty, but the air felt heavier, like someone had just left. I ran to the front door, checking the locks. Still secure. Jen's car pulled up minutes later. She banged on the door, and I let her in, babbling about the texts. She examined my phone, frowning. Blocked number. Creepy as hell. "Show me the basement." We went down together, her with a baseball bat from her trunk. Girl was prepared. The scratch was still there. "Watch." But now, below it, more letters. "Me back." Jen traced it with her finger. "This looks new, like hours old. You sure you didn't do this in your sleep or something?" I shot her a look. "No way." We searched the basement, nothing else out of place. Upstairs, she suggested we confront the house across the street. Break in if we have to. Prove it's empty. It was dark by then, streetlights buzzing faintly. We crossed the road, hearts pounding. The door was unlocked. Creepy detail number 1. Inside, the air was stale, dust motes dancing in our flashlight beams. The living room, just that chair, facing the window. No footprints, no signs of life. Jen sat in it tentatively. "Feels normal, but look at your house from here. Perfect view." She was right. My curtains were parted slightly. I must have forgotten to close them fully. From here, you could see right into my living room. We explored further. Upstairs, empty bedrooms, closets bare. But in the master, on the nightstand, an old photo album. Yellowed pages, black and white pics. Family, parents, a kid. The dad looked familiar, younger version of Mr. Stare. Flipping through, the photos got weirder. The kid alone, staring out windows. Then pages of just windows, no people. The last one. The dad, older, sitting in that chair, with a caption handwritten, "They watch because we watched first." A noise downstairs, a creak. We froze. Jen gripped the bat. "Hello?" she called. No answer. We crept down, but the living room was empty. Except the chair was turned, now facing away from the window toward the stairs. Toward us. We bolted out, back to my place. Jen crashed on the couch, insisting she stay. Safety in numbers. I agreed, but sleep didn't come easy. Around 3 a.m., I heard whispering. Faint, like wind through cracks, but words. "Watch me." I nudged Jen, she was out cold. The whispers grew, coming from the walls, the floor. I sat up, sweating. Then my phone lit up. Another text. "Look outside." I didn't want to, but I did. Parting the curtain, I saw them. Not just Mr. Stare. The shapes from before. Now clearer, a woman, a child, an old man. All in his window staring. And Mr. Stare? He wasn't there. Tap at my door. Not the front, the basement door. It rattled like something pushing from below. Jen woke then, eyes wide. What was that? Before I could answer, the power cut. Darkness swallowed us. And in the silence, footsteps. Slow, ascending the stairs. To be continued in part 3, if we make it out alive. Subscribe and hit the bell. Things are about to get personal. The power was out. My living room was pitch black, except for the faint streetlight glow sneaking through the curtains. Jen and I sat frozen on the couch, her baseball bat across her lap, my kitchen knife trembling in my hand. The footsteps from the basement were slow, deliberate, each creak of the stairs like a countdown. I wanted to scream, to run, but my legs felt like concrete. Jen whispered, "We need to move. Now." She grabbed my arm, pulling me toward the front door. The basement door rattled again, harder, like something was testing it. We didn't wait to find out what. We stumbled outside, the cold night air hitting like a slap. My street was quiet, too quiet, the kind of silence that feels like it's hiding something. Across the road, Mr. Stare's house loomed, its window dark now. No shapes, no faces, just an empty void where they'd been. Jen, ever the badass, wasn't ready to bolt. "We're not running from this," she hissed, gripping her bat. "We need answers." I wanted to argue. Every fiber of my being screamed to get in my car and drive until the gas ran out. But she was already marching back toward the creepy house. I followed, because what else do you do when your friends got more guts than sense? The door was still unlocked from our earlier visit. Inside, the air felt heavier, like stepping into a freezer. Our flashlights barely cut through the gloom, beams shaking in our hands. The chair in the living room was still turned toward the stairs, like it was waiting for us. Jen nudged me. "Check the album again. There's gotta be something we missed." I grabbed the photo album from upstairs, heart pounding as we flipped through it at the base of the steps. The pictures were the same. Family, kid, windows, but now I noticed details I'd skipped. In every photo of the dad, his eyes were scratched out, just faint white gouges where pupils should be. The kids' photos had tiny marks too, like someone had scratched at their hands. And the last page, the one with "They watch because we watched first," it had a new line, scrawled in red ink, "You're part of it now." Jen slammed the album shut. "This is bad. We need to—" A crash cut her off from the kitchen, glass shattering. We crept toward the sound, my knife useless in my sweaty grip. The kitchen window was broken, shards glinting on the floor. Outside, nothing but darkness. No wind, no animals. Just the jagged hole like something had punched through from the inside. "We're not alone," Jen whispered. She pointed her flashlight at the ceiling. Footprints, bare, smudged, tracked across it like someone had walked upside down. My stomach lurched. "That's not possible," I stammered. Jen didn't answer, just backed toward the door. But before we could move, the lights flickered back on. Not my house, just this one. And standing in the doorway to the living room was Mr. Stare. He wasn't smiling now. His face was blank, eyes like black pits, deeper than before. He didn't move, just stood there, head tilted slightly, like he was studying us. Jen raised the bat, voice shaking but firm. "Who are you? What do you want?" No response, just that stare boring into us. Then, slowly, he raised one hand and pointed at me. My chest tightened, like the air was being sucked out of the room. I don't know who moved first, but we ran. Out the door, across the street, back to my place. I fumbled the keys, Jen cursing behind me as we piled inside and locked everything. We sat in the dark, panting, listening for any sound. Nothing. No footsteps, no taps. Just silence. Jen broke it first. "We need help. Like professional help. Exorcist. Priest. Something." I nodded, pulling out my phone. The texts from the unknown number were gone. Deleted, like they'd never existed. But my camera roll had a new photo, one I hadn't taken. It was Jen and me in that house moments ago, flipping through the album, taken from above where those footprints had been. I showed Jen and her face went pale. "We're not staying here," she said. She grabbed her keys, but as we headed for her car, something stopped us cold. My front door, locked tight, swung open on its own. And from the darkness inside, a whisper, "Watch me." We didn't get in the car. Jen, stubborn as ever, dragged me to her place instead. A small apartment 10 minutes away. She had a pull-out couch and we crashed there, lights on, bat nearby. I didn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those scratched-out faces, that pointed finger. Jen stayed up too, scrolling Reddit on her laptop, searching for anything that matched our story. She found a thread on r/occult about watchers, entities that latch onto people who notice them. "The more you look, the closer they get," the post said. "They thrive on your fear, your attention. To stop them, you have to stop seeing." "Great," I muttered. "So I just blindfold myself forever?" Jen didn't laugh. She was reading another post, one about rituals to banish entities. Salt circles, sage, specific chants. "We could try it," she said. "Back at your place. Take control." I wasn't sold. Go back? After that? But Jen had a point. Running didn't feel like a solution. Whatever this was, it was tied to me now. To my house. To that house. By morning, we'd decided. We'd go back, try the ritual, and if it failed, I'd burn the place down and move to Antarctica. We hit a metaphysical shop on the way, grabbing salt, sage, and some candles the clerk swore were cleansed. She looked at us like she knew exactly what we were dealing with but didn't ask questions. Back at my place, everything looked normal in the daylight. No open doors, no creepy texts. Even Mr. Stairs' house seemed quiet, curtains still. Jen set up the ritual in my living room. Salt circle around us, sage burning, candles lit. She read from a printout, some Latin-sounding chant about banishing unwanted eyes. I felt ridiculous, like we were in a bad horror movie, but I repeated the words. The air grew warm, the sage smoke thick. Then the candles flickered. Not out, just wrong, like they were struggling to stay lit. Jen kept chanting, but I heard it again, that tapping. From the basement, I grabbed the knife, breaking the circle. Don't, Jen hissed, but I was already moving. The basement door was open again, wide this time. I descended, flashlight shaking, Jen behind me. The scratch marks were still there, but the words had changed. You watched me. And below, fresh, still wet, now I'm here. Something moved in the corner. A shadow, too tall, too thin. It wasn't Mr. Stair. It was one of the shapes from his window, the woman, her head jerking like a broken puppet. She didn't speak, just pointed, same as he had. At me. Then she was gone, like smoke dissolving. We ran back upstairs, sage forgotten. Jen was frantic now, muttering about stronger rituals, but I wasn't listening. Because outside, across the street, the window wasn't empty anymore. They were all there. Mr. Stair, the woman, the child, the old man, pressed against the glass, staring. And my front door? It was open again. My front door was open. Not just unlocked, wide open, swinging slightly in the night breeze. Jen and I stood frozen in my living room. The salt circle broken, sage smoke curling uselessly around us. The candles were out, wax pooling like they'd been snuffed by a breath. Across the street, Mr. Stair's window was packed. His silhouette, the woman, the child, the old man, all pressed against the glass, their faces smudged like bad sketches. Their eyes, though, those were clear, too clear, locked on us. Jen grabbed my arm, her nails digging in. We're leaving. Now. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook as she clutched the baseball bat. I wanted to agree, to sprint to her car and never look back, but something held me there. The air felt wrong, thick, like wading through syrup, and the whispers were back, not from the basement this time, but everywhere. Watch me, they hissed, from the walls, the ceiling, the floor, a chorus of voices, overlapping, crawling into my skull. I stumbled to the door, Jen pulling me along, but as we crossed the threshold, the door slammed shut. Not by wind, by force. We pounded on it, yanked the handle, but it wouldn't budge. Behind us, the living room lights flickered, then died. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I didn't want to look, but I did. Another photo taken from inside my house. It showed Jen and me standing at the door, backs to the camera. Taken seconds ago. In the background, reflected in the TV screen, a hand. Pale, bony, reaching from the basement doorway. Jen saw it too and swore. The basement. They're coming from there. She raised the bat, eyes darting to the basement door, still open from our last trip down. I gripped my knife, useless as it was, and we moved toward it. Because what else could we do? Hide? Run? There was no running from this. The stairs creaked louder than before, each step feeling like a trap. The basement was colder now, the air stinging my skin. My flashlight beam caught the scratch marks. You watched me. Now I'm here. But new words glistened below, wet and red like fresh blood. You can't stop seeing. The shadow woman was gone, but the corner where she'd stood felt alive, pulsing with something I couldn't name. Jen whispered, "We need to end this. Burn the album. Salt the house. Something." We ran back upstairs, grabbing the salt and the lighter from the ritual. The plan was desperate. Dump salt on the album, set it on fire, hope it broke whatever curse this was. We bolted across the street to Mr. Stair's house, the album our only lead. The door was still unlocked, the living room still empty except for that damn chair. The album was where we'd left it, open to the scratched-out faces. Jen poured salt over it, hands shaking, while I flicked the lighter. The pages caught fast, flames licking the photos, the words, the scratched eyes. Smoke stung my eyes, but as the album burned, the whispers grew louder, angrier. "Watch me! Watch me!" The chair moved, not fell, moved. It slid an inch across the floor, toward us. Jen yelped, dropping the lighter. The flames spread, catching the dusty curtains. "Shit, we gotta go!" she yelled. We ran outside, coughing, as smoke billowed from the window. The fire was small, contained, but it felt wrong, like we'd pissed off something bigger. Across the street, my house was dark, but the front door was open again. And inside, standing in my living room, was Mr. Stair. He wasn't alone. The woman, the child, the old man. They were with him, their shapes sharper now, like they'd stepped out of a dream into reality. Their eyes were holes, endless, pulling at me. I grabbed Jen's hand, dragging her toward her car, but she stopped dead. "Look," she whispered, pointing at my house. The windows weren't reflecting the streetlights. They weren't reflecting anything. They were black, like someone had painted over them from the inside. We got in her car, peeling out as fast as she could drive. My phone kept buzzing. Texts, photos, all from that unknown number. Pictures of US running, us in the car, us right now. I turned it off, but it buzzed again, screen lighting up on its own. A video this time. I shouldn't have played it, but my thumb moved before my brain could stop it. It was my living room shot from above like a security camera. Mr. Stair and the others stood in a circle, heads tilted up, staring at the camera. At me. The video looped, but each time they were closer, their faces clearer. The child's mouth opened, and a voice, mine, came through. "You watched me." Jen swerved, nearly hitting a curb. "Throw it out," she screamed. I rolled down the window and chucked the phone. It hit the pavement, screen shattering, but I swear I heard it buzz again as we sped away. We didn't stop until we reached a 24-hour diner, the kind with harsh fluorescent lights and truckers nursing coffee. Safety in numbers, right? We sat in a booth, shaking, ordering coffee we didn't drink. Jen called a friend, a guy named Marcus who claimed to know a spiritual fixer. She was desperate, and so was I. Marcus showed up an hour later, a lanky dude with a duffel bag full of weird stuff. Crystals, herbs, a dagger that looked older than my house. He listened to our story, nodding like it wasn't the craziest thing he'd heard. "You've got a watcher infestation," he said, like he was diagnosing a termite problem. "They're not ghosts, not demons either. They're in between. They latch onto attention, grow stronger the more you notice them. Burning the album was a bad move. You didn't break the connection, you fed it." He pulled out a notebook, sketching symbols I didn't recognize. "We need to go back, sever the link properly. Salt won't cut it. You need a mirror trap." He explained it like it was simple. Place mirrors facing each window in my house, chant some words, trap the watchers in their own reflections. Sounded like bullshit, but we were out of options. We drove back at dawn, Marcus in the back seat, muttering prayers or curses. I couldn't tell. My street looked normal, except for the faint smoke smell from the fire. Mr. Stair's house was quiet, the window empty. My house, though, The front door was closed, but every window was black, like they'd been coated in tar. Marcus didn't flinch. He handed us small mirrors, told us to keep them on us, reflective side out. Don't look at them directly, he warned, and don't break the mirrors. Inside, the air was freezing, my breath visible. We set up mirrors at every window, Marcus chanting in a language I didn't know. The whispers started again, louder, angrier, shaking the walls. Watch me. The mirrors vibrated, their surfaces rippling like water. In one, I saw a flash, the child's face, mouth open, teeth too sharp. I looked away, heart pounding. Marcus finished the chant, sprinkling some kind of ash around the room. The whispers stopped. The air lightened. He nodded. It's done. They're trapped. But you can't stay here. They're not gone. They're just contained. I didn't argue. I grabbed a bag, stuffed it with clothes, and we left. Jen drove us to her place, Marcus promising to monitor the situation. That night at Jen's, I couldn't sleep. I kept checking the windows, expecting those black eyes. Around 2 a.m., I heard it, a tap. Not from the window, from the mirror above her dresser. A crack split its surface, and in the reflection, I saw him, Mr. Stair, smiling. The mirror in Jen's apartment was cracked, a jagged line splitting Mr. Stair's smiling reflection. His face was sharper now, almost human but wrong, like a mask stretched too tight. Those black hole eyes locked on mine, and for a second, I swore I felt them pull, like they wanted to drag me through the glass. Jen yanked me back, her voice sharp. Don't look. She grabbed a blanket from the couch and threw it over the dresser, covering the mirror. The tapping stopped, but the air stayed heavy, like the room was holding its breath. Marcus was already on his feet, digging through his duffel bag. They're breaking through, he muttered, pulling out a small vial of something dark and oily. The trap didn't hold. They're too strong now. Jen snapped. What do you mean, too strong? You said the mirrors would work. Marcus didn't look up, just poured the oil into a circle around us, muttering words that sounded like a prayer crossed with a curse. You fed them too much, he said. The album, the fire, your fear. They're not just watching anymore. They're here. I wanted to scream that this wasn't my fault. I didn't ask for any of this, but a sound cut me off. A low hum, like a tuning fork, vibrating through the walls. The blanket over the mirror twitched, like something was pushing from behind. Jen gripped her bat, eyes wide. What do we do, Marcus? He didn't answer right away, just handed us each a small stone, smooth and black, etched with a symbol that burned my fingers when I touched it. Keep these on you, he said. They'll anchor you. Whatever happens, don't look at their eyes. The hum grew louder, joined by whispers. Watch me, watch me, watch me. Stacking into a deafening roar. The blanket fell, revealing the mirror. It wasn't Mr. Stair anymore. It was all of them. The woman, the child, the old man. Their faces pressed against the glass from the inside, mouths moving in sync with the whispers. The child's teeth were sharper now, jagged like broken glass. The woman's hands clawed at the mirror, leaving streaks that looked like blood. And the old man, his face was mine. Not similar, mine, down to the scar on my chin from a biking accident when I was 12. I dropped the stone, stumbling back. Marcus yelled, "Pick it up!" But it was too late. The mirror cracked further, shards falling to the floor, and the room went dark. Not power outage dark, unnatural, like light itself had been sucked away. Jen's flashlight flickered, catching glimpses of movement. Shadows, too many, circling us. I felt hands, not touching, but close, brushing the air near my skin. Cold, wrong, hungry. Marcus was chanting louder now, his voice barely cutting through the noise. He lit a bundle of herbs, the smoke acrid, and thrust it toward the mirror. The shadows recoiled, but only for a second. Then the child's voice, my voice, came from everywhere. You watched me first. I remembered the Reddit post. They feed on attention. The more you look, the closer they get. I'd been staring at Mr. Stair for weeks, feeding him, feeding them without knowing. Jen grabbed my arm, pulling me toward the door. "We're leaving." But Marcus shouted, "No." You run, they follow. "We end this here." He shoved a mirror shard into my hand, sharp, cutting my palm. "Face it. Look at them, but through the stone. It's the only way." I fumbled for the stone I dropped, blood slicking my fingers. Jen was crying now, swinging her bat at nothing, shadows dodging her blows like smoke. I held the stone up, its surface catching the faint glow of Marcus's herbs. Through it, the shadows solidified. Not just Mr. Stair and his crew, but dozens, hundreds, faces I didn't know, all staring, all whispering. My reflection was there too, twisted, my eyes black pits like theirs. Marcus yelled, "Say it! I see you! I release you!" I choked out the words, voice shaking, blood dripping onto the floor. "I see you! I release you!" The hum stopped. The shadows froze. Then, a scream, not human, not animal, something else, tore through the room. The mirror exploded, shards flying, but none hit us. The shadows collapsed, folding into themselves like burning paper, until only one remained. Mr. Stair. He didn't move, didn't speak, just stood in the center of the room, real now, solid. His smile was gone, replaced by something worse, regret. He reached out, not for me, but for the stone in my hand. I threw it at him, and he vanished, like he'd been sucked into nothing. The lights came back on. The mirror was gone, just a pile of dust on the floor. Jen was sobbing, bat still raised. Marcus looked like he'd aged 10 years, his hands trembling as he packed his bag. "It's over," he said, but his voice wasn't convinced. "They're gone, but don't go back to your house. Ever." We didn't. I crashed at Jen's for a week, then found a new place, a studio apartment in a crowded city far from that suburb. I avoid mirrors now, cover them with towels, check reflections only with my phone camera. Jen and I don't talk about it, but she keeps a bat by her bed. Marcus disappeared, his numbers disconnected, and his friend who referred him says he's gone off-grid. I thought it was over. I really did. But last night I got a notification. Not a text, a Reddit alert. Someone replied to my old r/nosleep post, the one I'd forgotten about. Just a single line. "You didn't release them. You joined them." Attached was a photo, uploaded from my account. It was me in my new apartment sleeping, taken from above, through a mirror I don't own. I checked every room. Nothing. No mirrors, no cameras. But as I write this, my phone's buzzing again. Another notification. I haven't looked yet. I'm scared to, because deep down I know what I'll see. And I know they're still watching. Thanks for sticking with me, strange. If this video gave you chills, share it with someone braver than you. Comment below if you've ever seen something you can't explain. I could use the company. And if you hear a tap at your mirror tonight, don't look. Not directly.